This video is brought to you by my generous backers over on Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel and get cool perks like access to the Discord, seeing the videos a week before anyone else, or an entire video dedication, then feel free to check out my Patreon. The link's in the description below. This video is dedicated to Antonio Rouse. Antonio, thank you. Nekusar the Mindrazer versus Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger, Arcum Dagsson, and Lord of Tresserhorn. Yeah, that's not terrible. We can get red from Polluted Delta. We'll keep it. Get into a talisman, so that's a better turn 2 play than Howling Mine at the moment, I think. And Lord Tresserhorn being piloted by Home Doggy, patron to the channel, getting down a Sol Ring straight into an Is It Signet. Go Batman's on Arcum Dagsson, just playing a land and passing, maybe holding up Swan Song. And then Moony Boy playing a tap land, and Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. We get into some more mana, so yeah, let's just go Talisman of Dominance here. And it is Zombie Tribal, Lord Tresserhorn from Home Doggy. The Dreadhorde Butcher comes straight in at us. And they also got down the Crypt Breaker as well. Arcum Dagsson just getting down a Felwar Stone with the incorrect border. Moony Boy getting down a Felwar Stone with the correct border. Into a Bloodchief Ascension. And a Liliana's Caress for us. So, is it time to set up Howling Mine and Liliana's Caress ready for the Nekusar maybe? Yeah, I think that's what we're going for. We haven't seen a wheel yet, unfortunately, but as soon as we get into one, that Liliana's Caress is going to deal a hell of a lot of damage. Then Home deciding to spread the damage around a bit and going in at Moony. Then going in for a Frantic Search. Not floating mana with the Opal Palace, noticeably. They can untap up to 3 lands with Frantic Search. They do discard a couple of cards with said Frantic Search, so Liliana's Caress will trigger. They discard a Timurit, the Murder King, as well as an Underground River. Then a Nightscape Familiar, along with a Skull Clamp. Hopefully we don't see the Gravecrawler. Home Doggy has emptied his hand, but it seems as though he got into some really good cards, going straight in for the Clamp onto the Nightscape Familiar, doesn't care about keeping that in play. And because someone lost some life, the Bloodchief Ascension is going to get a counter on it. Argument to be made there for not swinging in with the Dreadhorde Butcher. Ever-flowing Chalice for Arcum Dagsson, deciding to ramp as much as possible before going for the Arcum Dagsson. They probably want this to come down with haste. Ornithopter is a free flyer. Probably just sack fodder for the Arcum Dagsson. Moony going straight in for a Demonic Tutor. They're not doing too well on the mana front, so maybe they'll go in for a Sol Ring, something like that, to try and keep up. Playing a land and then going in for Waste Not. Yeah, it seems as though they're the ones playing the Nekusar cards at this point. Well, a lot of the Nekusar cards do go well with Kroxa and the discard effects, so makes perfect sense. We've got Waste Not and Bloodchief Ascension in this list. Just need to hope that we start drawing into that kind of thing, because it's pretty much all we're missing at this point. Alright, get into a Demonic Tutor of our own. So I think we drop Reliquary Tower while we still can. And then maybe think about going in for Nekusar with Force of Will held up. Then maybe we can Demonic Tutor in for a wheel next turn. So there we go, we'll go in for Nekusar and hope that it sticks. I'd rather not get rid of the Cyclonic Rift, but if we're setting up a wheel anyway, then we're going to end up discarding it either way, so I don't really mind either scenario, to be honest. Swinging in now, the Dreadhorde Butcher and the Crypt Breaker. We were going to end up putting counters on Bloodchief Ascension anyway, thanks to Nekusar, so they might as well swing in some damage over there. And we're actually in a matchup at the moment where it's not likely that enchantments are going to be dealt with, I've noticed. Arcum Dagsson probably has a means of wiping the board. Maybe they're going for the Nevinrel's Disc combo with the Darksteel Citadel. That's typically what Arcum Dagsson goes for. Skullclamp now going on to Dreadhorde Butcher. And they decide to get their commander down. And I think this can tap for black. Yes, that can certainly tap for black, so they can regenerate that. Comes in with a plus counter. Now, who are they going to have draw the cards is the question. Looks like they're pointing at Arcum Dagsson, the mono blue player. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know who I'd target here. I don't like giving Arcum Dagsson cards, but I don't want to give Kroxa cards either. So they refill their hand here. Going for a bunch of card draw. They'll draw off of the Skullclamp. And then Dreadhorde Butcher. Did that have enough power? It's 5 power, so that goes after Nekusar. So looks like we just have to take that. I think it might be worth going for next turn Underworld Dreams. Seeing as how it's an enchantment and it's going to be difficult for anyone to get rid of. That ominous Bloodchief Ascension is forever ticking up. Orazka Relic for Arcum Dagsson. Taps for colourless. Tap and sack, gain 3 life and draw. Then there is Arcum Dagsson without haste, luckily. Now, Kroxa coming down. We're going to have to discard a card here, unfortunately. And I think the plan at the moment is going in for... Do we go for the Locust God next turn, or do we go for Demonic Tutor into a wheel? We can keep our options open if we get rid of an island. Yeah, we can go Demonic Tutor into a wheel and hold up the Force of Will for counter magic backup. So yeah, if we draw into a land, we can go for Locust God if we want to. And failing that, we can go Demonic Tutor into a wheel. Waste Not triggers a bunch of times. Filth is discarded over here, so all of that stuff will have Swamp Walk. There's no Urborg in play at the moment, but there is a swamp here and a swamp here. So that makes this thing unblockable to us. Waste Not gets some triggers. It is a couple of zombies and a couple of black mana. Sphinx Ambassador was discarded by Arcum Dagsson, by the way. Kroxa does go back to the bin, but they've no means of actually getting that out. 1, because they're struggling on their colours, and 2, because they don't have anywhere near enough things in the graveyard to exile. Cursed Totem. Activated abilities of creatures can't be activated. That is really good against Arcum Dagsson. Also keeps this from regenerating. We don't care about that. Does stop us looting with the Locust God, but I don't think that's really why that's in here. In response, putting a regeneration shield on Lord Tresserhorn, no reason not to. Then Burning Inquiry. Each player discards and draws 3 at random. Ugh. Yeah, I don't like that. Because we're kind of relying on Demonic Tutor to keep us in this one. Unless we draw into something really good off the top. I think in that case we'll go Force of Will on that, because the plan seems to be going in for a wheel. And we'll get rid of the Cyclonic Rift. And we just need to hope that there's no Swan Song over here, which I have a sneaking suspicion there is. Alright, a Vandal Blast isn't terrible. Does a Vandal Blast help us at the moment, though? Psychosis Crawler is more draw pain, and that will be a 3/3 at the moment. We could just Demonic Tutor into a board wipe, maybe. I'm just expecting this thing to swing in at us. Yeah, change of plans, unfortunately. I think it has to be Toxic Deluge, and we'll probably end up getting a counter out of Arcum Dagsson's hand. Then Bloodchief Ascension is online, so we'll get drained for 2, thanks to Demonic Tutor going in the bin. And we'll get drained for 2 again after casting the Toxic Deluge. And we're going to have to put 5 into this, so losing a lot of life. Just not managing to keep up on the mana front, even though we're drawing a bunch of cards. Well, surprisingly, no Spell Pierce or Swan Song over here, so managing to slow the game down a little bit. Just an Ashnod's Altar from Home Doggy. 6 cards in hand and decided not to do anything else, so might be holding up counter magic as well. Shared Fate coming down from Arcum Dagsson now. If a player would draw a card, that player exiles the top card of one of their opponent's libraries face down instead. Each player may look at and play cards exiled with it. And Chaos Wand as well. Yeah, I don't like the sound of that Shared Fate. Thran Dynamo for Kroxa. Thran Dynamo into Final Parting. Search for 2 cards. 1 into hand and 1 into the bin. Putting a Lion's Eye Diamond in the bin, and we obviously don't know what they put into their hand. I was thinking of putting a combination with this into my Nekusar deck. It's Lion's Eye Diamond and any 3-mana wheel. Any 3-mana wheel that puts things into the graveyard, that is, like Windfall or Wheel of Fortune. Along with the new 2-mana enchantment that I can't remember the name of. I'll throw it up on the screen. And that will allow you to play this and the wheel out of the bin indefinitely and mill everyone out. Now, Kroxa's Charm. Return a permanent to its owner's hand. And they're doing that before we get to draw. There we go, we get into a Bloodchief Ascension of our own. If they're putting stuff in the bin, then I assume that they actually want to play stuff from the bin, so let's go Bojuka Bog and exile their library. Or do we want to get rid of Filth? Because their commander's really big. As much as I want to exile this stuff here, I'm going to get rid of that Filth instead. Still not getting into lands though. So we just have to continue to slow roll it. Let's see if there's some counter magic held up here. We'll attempt this Vandal Blast. And there we go. That triggers Bloodchief Ascension a bunch of times because we blew up a lot of artifacts. So that'll be 8 damage over here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 4 or 5 permanents we blew up there. So that'll be either 8 or 10 damage. Trying to make up for the Vandal Blast, going in for the Arcane Signet, then Forgotten Creation. That's a 3-3 with Skulk. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may discard all the cards in your hand and draw that many. And the Shared Fate comes straight back down again. Oh, a Dark Deal. There's the first wheel of the game. So we actually go down a card with that one. And we end up losing our Bloodchief Ascension. We don't lose as much life to the Bloodchief Ascension as our opponents will. That is 6 to us. But our opponents, I think, each had 7 cards in hand. So that's going to be 14 to each of them from Liliana's Caress. And then a further 14 from the Bloodchief Ascension. That might actually take both of them out. When we ended up drawing our 2 cards, Shared Fate triggered. So I have taken Rakdos Signet and Signing Blood from the Kroxa player. A bunch of cards were drawn there off of the Waste Knot, and it looks like they were targeting us with it because we've got a lot of stuff in exile here now. 59 cards left in the library. And then Home goes down to 3. I thought he'd be out of the game. Well, Go Batman definitely goes down. And Moon is up at 84. Okay, and Kroxa comes out of the bin there, so that is, yeah, that's 3 life. So taking Home Doggy down, their last points of life. And Howling Mine will trigger for us. Alright, a Whelming Wave. Yeah, I mean, we haven't really drawn anything this game, have we? We've got a bunch of wheels, but haven't been able to draw into them. And we've barely gotten into any rocks either. What can our opponent do with no cards in hand is the question. Yeah, I think we just go in for Misty Rainforest. We get drained for 2, thanks to that hit in the bin. And we'll just grab ourselves an island and go in for our commander. And after our Cyclonic Rift getting exiled with the Force of Will, I don't think there's much we can do about the Bloodchief Ascension, to be honest. But we'll see how many cards we can draw. We're going to have to deal a lot of damage to our opponent. The damage from Nekusar doesn't count as commander damage, unfortunately, so I don't really see what we can do. Bajuka Bog coming down now and getting rid of our graveyard. We've got Snap Mage and whatever the instant is that does the same thing. But other than that, there's nothing really to do. That's more to play wheels out of the bin, but we haven't gotten into any this game. We will take... Oh, what do we do here? Yeah, I think we lose either way, so let's just block the Kroxa and take 4. Really don't see what we can do here with that Blood Chief Ascension in play. Following things up with an Arcane Signet. And then a Chains of Mephistopheles. We draw yet another land. But thanks to the chains, we have to discard it anyway. Not that we care about drawing into a land. Alright, there is a Bedevil. They've got the cards to get their Kroxa back out again. We're just swimming against the tide at this point, really. We'll lose some more life to the Blood Chief Ascension. So it's just Bedevil that we're holding up. We'll go down to 2. They're swinging at us, so... yeah, let's just give them the chance to turn everything sideways at us. In fact, no, what we could do is go out of our own accord, couldn't we? Let's tap this for black. So we go down to 2 from the Talisman, and then when the Bedevil hits the bin, Blood Chief Ascension will take us out. And there we go. Yeah, really tricky one that. We just didn't really draw very well. We had the Liliana's Caress and the Howling Mine, but even though we drew a bunch of additional cards, we didn't get into much draw pain, no wheels, didn't get into all that many mana rocks. So yeah, I think any other day we could have done just as well as our opponent, and yeah, pulled out a victory on that one, but we'll just have to play Nekusar again and see what happens in the next game. Hopefully you all enjoyed it anyway. It was a good Kroxa build from our opponent, real fun one to watch. Be sure to leave it a thumbs up if you did like it, and subscribe to the channel as well so you can keep up to date with all the latest content. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.